Hello, law firm owners. Welcome to the Law and Quarter podcast, where we're not just aiming for the top, we're redefining it. I'm your host, Jayden Doyé, your friendly CPA, with a passion for turning good firms into great ones. Whether it's networking, branding, or the nitty-gritty of growing your finances, we've got you covered. So grab your coffee, sit back, and let's get ready to make some waves. Today's episode is called Event Magic. Host, Toast, and Boast. We're going to be talking about live events for law firms and how to utilize that to grow your brand. The first question I'm going to answer is, what type of events should law firm owners host? So it depends on what type of law you practice and what type of events your client avatar usually goes to. So let's just say, for example, you're an estate planning attorney and you work with professional service providers. Most likely your audience already has to get some type of continuing education. So if you can figure out a way to be able to offer continuing education, maybe via lunch and learn or an evening event, then they're more likely to come. So you have to look at if your audience is more likely to come to a social event or an educational event or both. I also recommend partnering with other people. So as you're growing your firm, you might not have that big of an audience that can come and fill a room. So partnering with other people that serve that type of audience or sponsoring events that already bring your audience out are great strategies that you can utilize to grow your brand and to grow your client base. The next question is, how can you effectively promote an event? So of course you have social media. So having a good flyer, posting it on social media, creating video content around it. If you've done this event in the past, using a sizzle reel, like a recap video from the previous event, will be beneficial because that creates FOMO, fear of missing out. So people are going to look at that and say, man, I am so mad that I missed that event last year. I'm definitely not going to miss it this year. And so that works great. Also, emailing your whole email list, phone calls, and text message. Let me tell you, when you call people, let's just say you call 20 people, the people that actually pick up the phone, now that they have you on the phone, it's hard to avoid you when you have them on the phone, right? And they're more likely to say that, yes, they're coming because you took the time out to call them, versus if you just email them, they could always say, I didn't get your email, when really they did, they just ignored it. The next question is, how do you engage attendees during the event? So if you're doing a virtual event, let's say you're doing a virtual continuing education event, using polls throughout your presentation are going to be important. Getting testimonies from people, asking questions, having them move the conversation along, that's going to be important to engage your audience, because a lot of times when people are doing these virtual events, they're multitasking. So you want to make sure that you engage them, because depending on who your audience is, they most likely like to talk and get a little bit of spotlight. So definitely engaging through questions and conversations is going to be important. When we're talking about in person, don't just be the person that stands in the corner. Actually work the room. So when I go to networking events, my rule is I have to walk around the whole room at least 3 times, because every single person in this event needs to see me. So you want to make sure that you're working the room, talking to strangers. It's a networking event. So at the end of the day, people expect to meet strangers. So don't feel awkward going up to somebody you don't know and saying, hello, I am, introducing yourself and saying what you do and getting to know them a little bit more. Don't go straight in for a sale. You want to let them talk about who they are, what they do, and let them spill the beans to you. Let them express what pain points they have before you go in and telling them what pain points you actually solve. And lastly, what's the best way to follow up after an event? So I say follow up within 24 to 48 hours. Me personally, I'm going to give you my secret sauce. So I like to, first of all, get a selfie with the person so they can't forget who I am. I get their personal phone number right then and there. And if you have an iPhone, it's easy to exchange information. The old way of getting your business card and following up via email, yes, that's great. That's all. That's never going away. However, when you have that person's personal phone number, now you can directly contact them. You don't have to worry about calling the call center and getting rerouted and having a schedule. You can skip all of that or streamline that process. So I get a selfie with them. I get their number. I text them immediately saying that it was nice to meet them. And then if appropriate, I may follow up with an email later, but I usually the next day follow up with my scheduling link. You also want to measure how many connections you're getting from events. So every time you go to a conference or a live event, I have a spreadsheet where I talk about who the leads are that I got from that event, and maybe who the leads are that I may just be nurturing, because sometimes there are certain businesses, your lead time is going to be longer than others. Some you want it immediately, but some it takes time to build that know, like, and trust back. And so I am keeping track of both the quantitative and qualitative factors as it pertains to my live events. And that's it for today's episode. Are you loving the gems that I'm dropping? If you're ready to take your law firm to the next level, why not book a complimentary consultation with me, and let's tailor these strategies to your firm. Just use the link in the description of this video. Remember, the sky's the limit, but why not shoot for the stars? And that's a wrap for this episode of the Law and Quarter podcast. I hope you're walking away with ideas that'll set your practice on fire in the best way possible. Hope you'll join me on the next episode. Until then, keep making it rain.